Hello, my name is DJ Studios and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be continuing a series I started months ago. In order to try and introduce those that haven't seen Classic Who to Classic Who, I call it Recommending Classic Who. I'm not very creative. I get a lot of questions from my friend Will saying things like, is Claws of Axos good? And I reply with, I don't know, I haven't seen it. The point being that every Classic Who fan will recommend the episode that they really like. Like, Genesis of the Daleks is a good story, but it's not a good thing to ease yourself into Classic Who. And basically this series is about finding those episodes that newbies can watch. I did one with season 26 a couple of months ago and I felt like I didn't really give them all room to breathe, so with this format I'm going to. From Monday to Friday this week, I'm going to do a video every day and that would be about each episode. So Robot, Ark in Space, so the Sontaran Experiment, Genesis of the Daleks, and Revenge of the Cybermen. That's the last one. There are a couple of characteristics that I kind of judge the episodes by. So the first is the pacing, the second is the effects, the third is the characters, and the fourth is its overall enjoyment. So let's find out whether today's episode is recommended or not recommended. I'm not gonna lie, Genesis of the Daleks is one of my favourite episodes of Classic Who. Like, I love this thing. Like, every time I watch it, and I've watched it 3 or 4 times at this point because it is just too long, that I don't want to watch it too much, that I just lose interest in it. So in this story we have the origins of the Daleks. This is, I think, the first time we see that kind of stuff as well. I think it's the first time we see Davros. And you go back in time with the 4th Doctor, who has been ordered by Gallifrey to stop the Daleks being made before they are made. You know, all the mutant stuff and the experiments and everything like that. He has to destroy them all in order to stop them being created. I've just realised that I need to stop talking about it in such a light, because I feel like if I talk to you, and I've said this many times in videos before, that if I talk to you about how much I like a certain episode and I recommend you that episode based on that, the fact I love it and I say it's the best thing ever, when you watch it you'll just be disappointed, so I need to stop saying that. Do I have the right? Genesis of the Daleks pacing, I think, is one of the better paced 6-parters. 6-parters simply don't work. Like, the Sea Devils, I think, is a big example of that. But I think that on a whole, this one does work quite well. There was a 90-minute cut of Genesis of the Daleks that they did on this box set for Series 12, and I think that with that you really didn't get the full story. And when I watched that one Saturday morning, I kind of realised that really this story has to be watched in its full 6 parts, because if it's not, then you don't get the atmosphere that it builds to, and you don't get the understanding of the world and this planet unlike you do with any other story. So I think most of it is necessary. I think there are slower bits, like I think the bit with Sarah being a prisoner is quite slow, and that's around the midway mark, but I think after that it's solid. Sarah, don't nudge me. The slightest movement might make the wires turn. Effects-wise, I think we have a really glamorous set for most of this episode, and I think that, you know, things such as Davros look a little bit dated to me. You know, seeing the Julian Bleach, I think it is, that plays Davros now, his version is so, like, close to human with, you know, because it is literally strapped onto his face and everything. This just feels like a mask for Davros. But I suppose, you know, everything was the same. There are some really lovely pieces of cinematography in this episode, especially the first one. The kind of trench stuff that they do, the costumes within this episode. The effects themselves are very simple. They don't make them very complicated. I think the most you go to is a couple of laser blasts, and, you know, sometimes they lead to things such as, you know, little explosions and stuff, but sometimes they are just like sort of like drawn on beams. But nothing for me really stands out as being abnormal. Well, it's good that we didn't decide to do that. Earlier I talked about how they kind of do an understanding for the world and it's very necessary to include all this stuff, and they do that through the characters. You have lots of interesting characters with their own different perspectives on life. One is like a mutant kind of thing. You've got people that work for Davros that want to revolt, scientists that want to keep quiet. You've got completely radicalized madmen. You've got servants. You've got rebels. You've got loads of stuff. It's a bit like Star Wars, I think, in some of its characters. Throughout the episode, you have it have 6 parts. So throughout it, you kind of get little. Throughout it, you kind of have big wades in different characters. You don't really need to know their names and not them like personally, but Nida, I think, is probably the coolest thing that comes out of this episode. But apart from that, I think they're all doing a really stellar job. Each episode kind of gives something for a character to do, which is quite interesting. Or plot developments happened quite a lot in episode 4 for this set of characters, and then episode 5 you see the fallout of that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff features a lot within the episode. Oh, that's Remembrance of the Daleks. Overall, it's such a good episode. I really do think that you need to watch it at some point, pretty early on, but I think that it could take a couple of goes to get used to, almost. Because of this kind of overhype and this thing that, everyone tells you that you need to watch this episode, and then you watch it and you think, yeah, it's kind of alright, but I didn't love it as much as everyone else did. Inferno, I think, was a big example for me. I watched Inferno the first time, and I thought, you know what, this is rubbish, I don't like this. But then the second time I watched it, I thought it was excellent. It's such a big story, and it has some really great moral dilemmas. So, I really, really want to put this thing into recommended, but personally I feel like I can't, because if I do, part of me is thinking that I shouldn't, because if I do, I'm telling people this, and throughout this video I've said how much I love it, but I can't help, and I will feel bad if I don't put Genesis of the Daleks into the recommended section. So, thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and go and check out the other videos that I've done in Series 12. One more day is left with Revenge of the Cybermen tomorrow, and I can finally wrap up Series 12. There is no more space on my SD card. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you soon.